The moment my eyes landed on her, I realized I was standing at a crossroads. A decision had to be made. There she was, a woman stranded by the roadside, her hands trembling as she helplessly stared at the flat tire of her car. The world around her kept moving at its usual relentless pace. Cars sped by, drivers barely sparing her a second glance. It was painfully obvious that she was lost, overwhelmed, struggling to figure out what to do next. I, on the other hand, had my own race against time. My interview, the one shot I had at turning my life around. I should have kept going, should have pushed forward without a second thought. But something in me refused. An unshakable pull made me tighten my grip on my bike handles, and before I could think twice, I veered off course, skidding to a stop right beside her. "Do you need help?" The words left my mouth in a rush, my breath uneven. Her head snapped up, sharp green eyes locking onto mine. For a split second, hesitation flickered across her face, like she wasn't used to accepting kindness from strangers. Then, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of the moment, she nodded. "Yeah, I think so." That was all I needed. Without another word, I dropped to one knee beside the car, my fingers already working the bolts. "You got a spare?" I asked, glancing up. Relief washed over her features. "Yeah, in the trunk." I got to work, my hands moving with practiced ease. Years of fixing up my old bike had made me fast, efficient. The car lifted, the busted tire removed. Sweat trickled down my forehead, but I ignored it. Time was slipping through my fingers, but I kept going. She paced back and forth beside me, her phone clutched tightly in her hand, her eyes darting toward the screen every few seconds. "I'm going to be late," she muttered under her breath. I let out a small chuckle, tightening the last bolt. "Yeah, me too." That made her stop. She turned to look at me, really look at me. A flicker of realization crossed her face. "Wait. Are you on your way somewhere important?" I stood up, wiping my hands on my jeans. "Job interview." Her expression fell. Oh no." I followed her gaze to my watch. 10 minutes late. The truth hit me like a gut punch. I had blown it. My one chance. I forced a smile, trying to mask the disappointment creeping in. "It's fine." She frowned, brows knitting together like she was trying to figure me out. "No, it's not." Before I could protest, she reached into her bag and pulled something out, pressing it firmly into my hand. "Business card." "Call me," she said, her voice leaving no room for argument. I barely glanced at it before tucking it into my pocket. "I don't need." "Just call me," she repeated, her tone firm. Then, without another word, she slipped into her car and sped away, disappearing into the rush of the city. For a moment I just stood there, watching the space where she had been. Then, with a heavy sigh, I picked up my bike and pedaled away, knowing deep down that I had just lost my only real shot at something better. Or so I thought. The next morning my phone buzzed with an email. My heart pounded as I read the words. "Thank you for your application. Unfortunately, we have decided to move forward with other candidates." Rejection. Another door slammed shut. I let out a slow breath, rubbing my temples as frustration gnawed at me. I needed a new opportunity, and fast. That's when my gaze landed on something resting on my nightstand. The business card. I picked it up, flipping it between my fingers. Eleanor Carter. Yo. Carter Enterprises. My breath caught. Carter Enterprises. The Carter Enterprises. The very company that had just rejected me. My stomach tightened as I stared at the name. Why had she given me this? Curiosity gnawed at me until, before I could second-guess myself, I dialed the number. She answered on the second ring. "You called," she said, and for some reason she almost sounded relieved. Cleared my throat. "Yeah. You gave me your card. Did you get the job?" I let out a dry chuckle. "No. Missed the interview." Silence. "Come to my office. Right now." Blinked. "Wait, what?" It wasn't a request. Before I could ask anything else, she hung up. I stared at my phone, completely thrown. What the hell was going on? Walking into Carter Enterprises felt like stepping into another world. The building was sleek, towering, its glass exterior reflecting the morning sun. The lobby alone oozed wealth. Pristine floors, polished furniture, men and women in tailored suits moving with purpose. I felt out of place in my worn-out jacket, my scuffed shoes practically screaming that I didn't belong. "Mr. Carter is expecting you," the receptionist said, barely glancing up as she motioned toward the elevator. "Mr. Carter." Confused, I stepped inside and pressed the button for the top floor. As the doors slid open, I was met with an elegant, modern office. And there, standing by the window, arms crossed, was her. Eleanor Carter. She turned, her piercing gaze landing on me. "You came." Exhaled. "Yeah." Still not sure why. She motioned to the seat across from her desk. "Sit." I did, feeling strangely like I was being examined. "You helped me yesterday," she finally said. "You didn't have to, but you did." I shifted uncomfortably. "It was just a flat tire." Her expression hardened. "No, it wasn't. That meeting. That was my career on the line. If I had missed it." She shook her head. "You don't understand what you did for me." I frowned. "What are you saying?" She leaned forward. "I owe you." My stomach flipped. "Owe me?" I smirked. "I have an opening in my company. You're going to take it." I blinked. "Wait. You're offering me a job?" "Yes. But I didn't even interview." Her eyes gleamed. "You did. Yesterday. When you chose to help me instead of yourself." I stared at her, trying to process what was happening. This was insane. Completely insane. But when she slid the contract across the desk, one thing became crystal clear. My life was about to change forever.